What's up there, workforce? Chris here with WorkToGame, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the term clickbait. I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of why YouTube drives the things the way it does, how our channel has evolved. August 8th will make 3 years on YouTube for us, and kind of where our title and thumbnail strategy comes from. So when you talk about YouTube, the things it looks for is when it comes to clickbait, you're looking at click-through rate. And so that is based on a number called impressions. Impressions is basically the number of times that the billboard gets shown to the cars on the highway. It doesn't matter if the people in the car look or not. The number of cars that pass by counts as an impression. And so that is the number of times that our video gets shown in the browse page. So that's your home page, and that's whether or not you're subscribed to that channel. It shows about 20 videos every time you refresh that page. And then the suggested videos, which is the video that it pushes you to in the autoplay, or if you scroll down in the app and all that, it has like 20 more videos that it says, hey, if you liked this, you might also like. And then that search page, so when you manually search a term like Final Fantasy, where do we show up in that kind of top 20? Now, there are other pages, but that top 20 is where you want to be, because those are the videos that are getting clicked. They're not getting clicked evenly, but if they were, it'd be 5%, right? So our click-through rate, just to kind of put it in context, typically hovers between 3 and 7%. So we're right in that range. There are individual videos that we have had perform well above that, and then we have gotten better to the point where we don't really have any videos performing below that, but we did before they started giving us access to a lot of these stats. And so these stats really gave us the ability to optimize. Just like you see us optimize in games, we have drastically changed our strategy based on this. So with that context in mind, over the last 3 years, you've seen us try a lot of things. I'll do 5 reasons that Final Fantasy you should play and 5 reasons you shouldn't. I posted them back-to-back days with near identical thumbnails, and that's us testing things. You'll see us try a naming convention, and we'll leave that for like a month, and that's us testing things so that we know not just one video kind of determines that. And so you'll see us do little short tests or big long tests, things like changes to our content schedule and all that, and we're just trying to learn from the algorithm, which is constantly changing. So even if we knock it out of the park and we find something that really works for us, it doesn't mean that we can stick with that strategy long term, because the moment the algorithm changes again, we have to adjust. And so with 3 years on YouTube, you've seen us do things like go back and change old titles, go back and change old thumbnails. That's us looking to change the performance of that video. You've seen us do all sorts of things. And so the idea that somebody uploads a video to YouTube so that they can make it public, so that when it shows up in the top 20 results for whatever, that it doesn't get clicked on, doesn't make any sense to me. Of course they want to be the one clicked on. If you type how to make a cake and it says here's 20 videos all titled how to make a cake, you're only going to click on one of those, and if that one teaches you everything you need to know, you're not going to click any others. If it doesn't, you'll go back, and then the second place guy gets a chance, and then the third, and then the fourth. So you want to be as high up as possible, because there's this huge drop-off rate if the first place guy does a good job. So for example, in Final Fantasy Dungeon Guides, you're competing against Miztech because she has a ton of them out there. And so there is a very good chance that hers is already the best one, in my opinion. She may not be ranked number 1. A lot of times that's another large creator, that's somebody like Happy or whatever. And so if you're going to compete in that space, there's no reason to do it unless you're going to bring something unique. So if I think something maybe could be said a little different for the people who didn't catch it the way they said it, because we don't all communicate the same way, then I'll put that guide out. But honestly, outside of maybe just wanting to learn to do dungeon guides better, there's no reason for me to go back and do those. And I've talked about going back and doing those. But that's what you're competing against. So within that, what does the word clickbait mean? Well, does it mean we're baiting you to click? We're encouraging you to click? Is it clickable? If so, yes, and we are absolutely that. We are 100% trying to be the most clickable, and we have changed our titles and our thumbnail designs to the point where we are happy with how they're performing. It doesn't mean we'd never change them again, and so that is kind of where we are at. Is we have very much worked hard on that. I can't see every other stats, kind of click-through rate and what that means and how they're ranking in certain terms. How you rank in certain terms, we have to pay for a tool to do. YouTube doesn't even do it for us. We pay for a tool that goes out there and pulls things from the API and makes sense of it, and then runs a bunch of kind of checks against the server and says, okay, what is ranking and what is not, and where are you within that tag? So it goes out and grabs that data for us, and we have to pay monthly for that tool. With that in mind, we've constantly tried to be better about tagging, better about targeting videos that we know we're going to do well in, and it's really just one of the few ways that we can try to gauge what kind of content you guys like, because we have to please two clients, right? We have to please the algorithm, because if we don't, it just kicks our stuff to the curb, and then nobody sees it. And we have to please you guys, because even if it gets through the algorithm, it ranks #1 in a search term you don't care about, then there's nothing there. And Brian and I do this for engagement. We do these videos for the comments section. We do these videos for that time when you're like, hey, I don't post much, but I just wanted to say thank you. This really helped me. And we do it for the good comments and the bad. We do it to start a discussion, because Brian and I discuss things we don't always agree. You see it sometimes here on the channel, whether we're both on screen or not. And we really like the idea that there's also other perspectives out there. There are plenty of people who disagree with us that, you know, they have well-founded opinions, they back it up, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I don't agree with you, but that makes sense. I see where you're coming from. I see why you feel that way. And so we love that. And so that means we have to put a thumbnail and a title that's going to draw that in, that's going to draw in the audience that we're looking for, the community that we want to be a part of. And so that means that we have to pick things that are going to draw in people who have opinions. So if I ask a question in the title, I can't answer it. I can't say, should we rebuild ARR? No, because then anybody who, you know, sees that, they've already made up their mind, oh, is that a video I want to engage with or not? Instead of just should we rebuild ARR, they're like, well, I have an opinion on that. Perfect. You're exactly who I want in here. So are we worried about drawing in toxic players? No, we want everybody here. Now, once you're here, we have certain guidelines on comments that we allow and don't allow, and the filter grabs huge chunks of comments because we don't really let the things go through the filter that have excessive cuss words and things like that, because we like the idea that our page, for the vast majority of content and for the most of our comment sections, can be opened at work, can be opened in front of your kids, can be opened in, you know, when you're on a train and somebody's not going to look over and see like, what are they reading? And it's just a whole bunch of F-bombs. So like, we do try to make this at least like a business professional or family friendly or whatever term you want kind of channel. And outside of that, we want to draw on anybody we can. And so is it clickbait? In that sense, yes. Now, the other side of clickbait, the side that I define clickbait as, is deceptive. And so the side I worry about being is where like we post like, this is the best Final Fantasy PvP guide, and then it's, you know, what's most important is that you run a lot of dungeons. And so like, we don't want to deceive. We do want to cover the subject. And our videos are typically 7 to 12 minutes long, which means that they usually only have one subject, but sometimes they have more than one subject. And when that is the case, I do try to, and with the exception of something like this, where I started out with the context of let's define some things with YouTube, I do try to put the point as close to the front of the video as I can where I think it still makes sense. Because when somebody clicks on it for something, I know that that's what they're here for. And so like with my video very recently where I said, make Star Dishonest great again, that was directly playing off somebody in the comments saying, we need to build a wall, and me responding, and the Garleans should pay for it. And that is very much just a parody of American politics right now. And it makes very light of something that I'm sure people have strong opinions on left and right. And it's something that like Brian said, oh man, I really liked your response to that. That was so funny. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go make that my thumbnail. Brian suggested I Photoshop it onto the hat, and I just didn't have time to do that. So, you know, we could have definitely driven a lot further into that kind of, you know, really make it almost a meme, but that's as far as that went. So are we looking for feedback on our thumbnails and comments? Yes. Does it mean you're going to see a change either immediately or ever? No. Are we looking for content on our videos? Yes. Do we take that under immediate advisement? Yes, because our video content is something we care a great deal about and we're constantly looking to improve. So it doesn't mean that we'll take necessarily your comment and immediately shift the whole channel, but we'll definitely say, okay, I'm noticing a trend to this, or I agree with that point, or something like that. And that's where we respond. So will we keep making thumbnails and titles like this? Yes, because as long as this is what the algorithm is feeding, as long as this is what's getting us the most impressions and the highest click-through, that's what's important to us. Now, does the algorithm have a way to punish clickbait if we were to accidentally step over that line, or even intentionally step over that line? Yes. Yes, it does have an ability to kind of detect, not on an individual basis, but on, you know, like I said, our impressions is in the millions every month. So when you look at millions of impressions, not just one user, it can say, okay, this user typically watches content like this. They typically watch this much relative to the average. That's this, and blah, 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 blah. And here, they clicked on a search term that we expected them to do well at. They clicked on your video, and then they immediately clicked out, or they thumbs down, or they got off the platform after that. okay, is that something we need to pay attention to? And the algorithm takes that into account. And so enough bad behavior and a video can just get driven into the ground. So you can't just go put naked girls on your thumbnail or anything like that, even if you want to, because it doesn't translate like people think it does. There was a time it did on YouTube. YouTube's gotten a lot smarter. They don't want people just gaming the system that easily. They want you to have to make good, engaging content because that's what keeps the platform sustainable. So if you have to make good and engaging content with good and engaging thumbnails and titles, then that's what they constantly are striving to find a way to reward, and they're constantly trying to find a way to penalize anything that makes light of that and finds a cheat or a workaround. So we do respond to the algorithm. We do respond to you guys. I just wanted to kind of give some context to why we name things the way we do. I hope this makes sense. I hope this kind of helps shed a little light on what drives it. We do have a chance to talk to other creators sometimes, and they'll share their stats with us sometimes. And that really also gives us some light, because the other thing is we're operating in a vacuum. We only have our data, and so we have to do something for a month and then try something else for a month and then try something else for a month. But when you do something like cover Final Fantasy, for example, June 28th to, let's say, July 28th, I would assume that our channel is going to do very well compared to May 28th to June 28th. And that's not really going to be because, oh, we got really good at making thumbnails or we got really good at tagging. That's because it's a really exciting time to be in Final Fantasy. And we're excited, and we're going to be putting out some really cool content that we're excited to make and we can't make yet. And so you have to kind of take some context in there. So it would be nice to see other channel stats, but unless they ever choose to do something like that, which I don't think they would, for a whole number of reasons, it's really, really difficult to kind of see what we could be doing to do it better. If we could make thumbnails differently to get 10% click-through or 12% click-through, we would. Yeah, we would, you know? Because obviously you're clicking on it. So obviously it's communicating something you're interested in. But we wouldn't want to do that at the cost of watch time. So if you guys on average watch 4 minutes and 56 seconds of video, then we want to keep, or you on average watch the first 35% of the video or 45% or whatever those numbers are. I don't know them off the top of my head. We want to keep that number intact, but then draw in as many new users as possible. Sometimes we're getting as many as 20,000 unique visitors in a day, and we only have 31,000 subscribers, give or take. And 77% of our views come in from those three features I labeled earlier: browse, suggest, and search. And so those three are all things where you're not clicking through a notification banner, you're not clicking directly from a link on Discord or on Twitter. 77% of our views come from a venue where we are competing for your view, where we are putting our thumbnails and our titles up there to be as eye-catching as possible, because you're being fed the 19 other things that YouTube thinks you are also very likely to click on. So we are in the finals race against the 19 other best fits for that exact moment for you. And so that is something that if we want to do well there, it can't just be like, oh, I'm going to show up to this job interview in pajamas, because if they want to know me, they can't judge me based on my cover. And it's like, no, they can. They absolutely can. You should show up clean shaven, hair done, maybe a tie on, have a proper printed resume that doesn't have spelling errors. These are basic things you do because you want to be hireable. We want to be clickable. We want to look like a video you'll enjoy. And then once you get there, you don't want to lose the job right away. So once we get there, we want to then deliver video content that you're excited to watch and that you're glad you did. So just like we want to be a good employee, we also have to get through the interview process. And so that's kind of our thoughts on that. My name's Chris with WorkToGame. I really hope this shed a lot of light on this, because it's been coming up more and more as the community grows, which is wonderful. So I hope it really helps. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Hey guys, it's me. Oh, well, if you don't know me, my name's Terry. I'm a beautiful Tyrannosaurus from Texas, and it just doesn't get more country than that. I tell you what, I grew up in these parts. I was resurrected by a ghost, and that ghost told me that I needed to come out and hang out on WorkToGame's YouTube channel to tell everybody they should totally hit that thumbs up. Thumbs down make Terry hungry. It makes me hungry. You hear me? Hungry. Anyway, Terry, just keep it together. Keep it together, Terry. All right, guys. So with that, be sure to hit that thumbs up button and hit subscribe if you haven't already to see more of me and my beautiful nose. Okay. All right. Good talking to you. I'll see you guys soon. I'll see you real soon. Terry, the Tyrannosaurus from Texas.